A very good evening and welcome to a Wednesday edition of Big Talk. My name is Ubong Usora, and this is a program where we get to highlight trending political issues and issues that are happening in Nigeria as we try to push for a better Nigeria. Like I always say, Nigeria belongs to all of us, and we must make sure that this country is conducive, that we are able to keep this country and grow this country, and actually be proud of Nigeria at the end of the day, that we built a country where tribe didn't destroy us, ethnicity didn't destroy us, poverty didn't destroy us. A lot of conversation around Nigeria's political leaders and how they could actually help us move the country forward. You're welcome to the show. My name is Upong Usara, and this is Global Television live on DSTV channels 365. And today's conversation is going to be a channel towards diaspora voting, the push for diaspora voting. Of recent, we've had a lot of people who are in the US, in the UK, in Europe, and other countries, other continents, Nigerians who want to participate in the 2027 elections. And we saw a similar push in 2025 where we had a lot of Nigerians who traveled back home just to vote. I saw videos, pictures on Twitter, which is now called X, and many other platforms of Nigerians who wanted to just come back to Nigeria and vote. So, and some Nigerians are saying, allow us to stay abroad. We are still Nigerians. We can stay abroad and we can still cast our vote and decide who rules Nigeria. 2027 seems to be an election that a lot of Nigerians are so interested as we're going to be looking at an election that will chart the way forward and chart the course of this great nation. Like I believe Nigeria is a great nation, and I know you believe that too. Let's go for a short break, and when we go back, I'll show you perspective of some trending political issues on social media, and before we get into the conversation with our guest for you tonight. Don't go nowhere. My name is Ubong Osora. All right, so like I say, every day when we come on the show, we have to build a country that we are all proud of. Nigeria, a country that at the end of time, we can be comfortable to say, I contributed to the success of the country. That's what this show is about. That's what Global Television is about. Making Nigeria global and putting a narrative that favors our country, that favors all of us. Right, so before we went on that break, I told you that when we come back, we'll go check some of the trending political discussions on social media, as I just highlight those stories for you. Before we'll get into our discussion for tonight. Let's go check some stories that are trending on social media. All right, so the first story that we have says, to our young people, ADC is your home. David Mark. So the chairman of the ADC, the former Senate President David Mark, has come out to say that the African Democratic Congress, ADC, has promised to ensure greater inclusion of young Nigerians in its activities, programs, and policies when it comes into power. So ADC, according to David Mark, is for young people. All right? I don't know. other political parties will argue that they're also for young people. We're going to get to know this during, like I say, sales of forms, because that shows the last elections we had. The APC sold presidential ticket for about 100 million naira, and the PDP sold theirs for about 80 million. How affordable was it for young people? Those are conversations that young people may be wanting to ask David Mark as the ADC heads into 2027. All right, let's take another story for you tonight. Afenifere debunks endorsing coalition, says report is false. So the Pan-Yoruba Socio-Political Organization, Afenifere, has debunked a report claiming that it had endorsed the coalition movement spearheaded by a group of political parties in Nigeria. So Afenifere is saying coalition, whether it's a major with the ADC or a Labour or whatever, we are not a part, and we have not endorsed any coalition, and that's very clear from the ADC. ADC is saying we are not a part and we've not endorsed any coalition. Let's take another story for you tonight. Atiku condemns Tambuwal's arrest, says EFCC now a political tool. So former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has accused President Bola Tinubu of weaponizing anti-corruption agencies to pressure opposition leaders into defecting to the ruling All Progressive Congress. All right, so Atiku has actually come out to say and condemn the arrest of former governor of Sokoto State and a senator at the Senate, Aminu Sambo, saying it seems President Bola Tinubu was weaponizing anti-corruption agencies to pressure opposition leaders into defecting to the ruling All Progressive Congress. All right, let's take another story for you tonight. Ngigi wants APC against using his name in campaign. So a former Minister of Labour and Productivity, Senator Chris Ngigi, has warned the governorship candidate of the All Progressive Congress in the November 8, 2025 Anambra governorship election, Prince Nicholas Ukachukwu, against using his name to campaign for votes. So Ngigi is saying, Ukachukwu, APC in Anambra, please don't use my name to campaign. I think that's very clear. That's the political story that we're able to track for you. And the last story that we have for you tonight says, so that's the story, that's the much that we can actually bring to you tonight about some of the political stories that are trending. But now, sequel to 2023, we've had a lot of agitation by Nigerians who number in their thousands that are outside the shores of this country about wanting to participate in the electoral process of the country. And we know that for you to participate in the electoral process, you have to be registered, you have to get your permanent voter ID, voter card, and you have to be able to cast your vote at designated points. In fact, as of today, Nigeria does not have email voting. Nigeria does not have voting through technology. And there's been a lot of glamour. Right, we had that subsequently before we had the electoral bill that was later signed into law by former late President Muhammadu Buhari, and it didn't still capture diaspora voting. And this is something some Nigerians feel that because of how enlightened, because of how knowledgeable the population section of those Nigerians that are outside the shores of Nigeria is, it will be good for them to be able to cast their votes and also participate in the economy and in the choice of political leaders in Nigeria. After all, they're sending a lot of monies to the country on a daily basis, and we know direct diaspora remittance is into millions of naira and millions of dollars in this country. We have a lot of homes, a lot of families that are supported by the diaspora community. Nigeria has a strong diaspora community, especially in the UK, in the US, and in European countries like France, like Germany, and a lot of other countries. So tonight, we're going to be talking with the chairman, board of trustees of the Cross River State diaspora community in the UK will be joining us live via Zoom in the UK as we talk about Nigeria generally, but we'll be focused on diaspora voting and how we can actually move the country forward. His name is Dr. Uti Ncho, joining us from the UK. A very good evening to you, Dr. Uchi. I hope you are fine, and how are you doing? Let's start on a lighter note. How's the UK this time?
Thank you so much for having me. Just a little correction there. So I am the chairman of the board of trustees of the Crossivers that live all over the world, not only in the UK.
United Kingdom.
So in the UK, for the UK, everything is going on well. As you can see, the weather is brighter now. We are in the summer and we are in very good spirit.
All right, so just to ask that, we have a Nigerian, Kemi Badadech, even though she says she doesn't identify as a Nigerian, and so who's leading. So, and we'll see a lot of Nigerians who are doing well in the UK. So I'd like to start on that note. How are Nigerians, how is the Nigerian community generally in the UK? I hope they are doing well. How are Nigerians contributing to the economy of the UK and in other countries around the world? Like you said, you are not just the chairman of the community, Crossivers community in the UK, but you are the chairman of the community all over the world. So how are Nigerians contributing to the economy of the UK specifically?
Okay, in terms of economy, you know that Nigeria have one of the strongest, when you say strongest diaspora community or one of the educated diaspora community, our contribution is large in terms of economy, political development, in technology. Nigeria holds critical stake in the health sector of the UK as we speak. So our contribution globally is well known. We are one of the communities that we bring vital impact to anywhere you could find us. So I believe that our community is one of the strongest. Statistics are there for everyone to see. The contributions that we bring in terms of digital technology at the moment. If you go to Real Tech, you discover that we are there. In the health sector, Nigerians doctor, especially in the UK, they are in high-level places making critical decisions in the health aspect. When you come to the economy, we are building a stronger diaspora economy, and our also community is growing, and we have a very strong community emanating from all over places so that we can keep ourselves compact and make decisions that are very important and vital to the development of our country.
People assume that those who are outside Nigeria do not understand the economic situation in the country. Let's talk about back home now. It seems that when people travel out, a lot of them will start, casting aspersion on our leaders. This is done better. Nigeria is not a working system, and there's a lot of conversation about that. But as somebody who is in the diaspora, can you talk about the politics of representation primarily in the UK and the politics of representation in Nigeria? You grew up in Nigeria, so you understand the politics and the terrain. How are our politicians as compared to how politicians behave in the UK?
Okay, thank you so much. Things and people build on accountability in the UK, accountability, transparency, and how things are done. So when leaders are voted into office, they are accountable to their people. You could see a little bit different when you come to the Nigeria context, when leaders do not like to be questioned on accountability, a matter of transparency, and how to shape policies. So those are the little difference, because there is no way development can be built on anything aside accountability. Before you want to implement anything, if you want to drive business, you want to drive growth, you want to drive economic prosperity, those may be they will necessarily be strongly built on those key cardinal points. So in order for us to grow as a country, to have a viable political economic environment, we must have strong leadership in place, a leadership that is very transparent, leadership that can be questioned when there is need. and leadership that can provide prudence of maybe funding, financing of projects, financing of development impact activities, that will be very, very, very strongly built on what will make the life of an average Nigeria, better. For example, there are little things that politicians can do that they do in this country. Like the local government where I live, the local government provide water, provide, access to maybe roads and things like that, utility, they are strongly built on that. But if we have a strong local institutions and then they develop to the state and to the national, it could make our country more viable. That is what is done in developing countries, and people like us feel that we should have very strong institutions where we can learn. Diaspora communities, when we see something better, it's not only on criticizing, we feel that our country should be viable enough to learn from those good examples. There are other examples, there are other things that we may not culturally aligned to, but in terms of development, we have very strong ties that we could learn from what other countries are doing well, they are doing better, and try to bring them to our country to make our country better.
Now, as of 2024, approximately 17 million Nigerians live abroad, making it one of the largest diaspora communities, especially in Africa. And you have about 353,000 Nigerians in the United States, about 215,000 in the United Kingdom. Italy has about 119,000. And you can just keep mentioning countries like Canada, South Africa, that a lot of Nigerians have been migrating to Canada of recent, and we've had people going into SA, that's South Africa. So that's a large 1.7 million can actually sway votes. These last elections, we know, yes, 2023, we know that President Tinubu, just about a million gap, in the winning. So 1.7 million, that's about roughly 2 million, if you put it approximately, can actually win a presidential election. And there's this push for diaspora voting as we head towards 2027. I'd like to get your view. Do you think diaspora voting is something we need in Nigeria at this time? Is it something that can work for us? Because we already have African countries that are doing it. We have Kenya as an example, as an African country that is into diaspora voting.
So, thank you for that question. If we can contribute 20 billion United States dollar every year to the economy of our country, one of the strongest contribution to the growth of our country, then we should be given that right of privilege. I know we have been advocating for that. I personally have been in meetings and in dialogues where we advocate for diaspora voting rights, and we are pressing on that. Even with the review of our constitution, we are still pressing on that electoral reform to be made so that we will have the right to vote. You have already mentioned how strong the diaspora population is. So if we are part and parcel of development, it's not only Nigeria. Nigeria is not the first country that should allow that. So it will also give us the privilege for us to know that we have a stake in our country. If we have the right to vote, many diaspora will know that they have a stake. They will start looking at economic indices and also the kind of things where they can contribute in terms of education, health, how to give back. So it may likely be a point where we could enlarge the remittances that we give back to our country and also contribute to the local economy of our country. If we have the right to vote, we want to do more. We want to be interested in what happens. There are so many diasporans that will tell you, we don't want to know what is happening there. Since we have been talking, we have been advocating on social media, there is nothing that has been changing. But if we have the right to vote, I think that voting right will alter a lot of things. And will also give us a sense of place that we know that not only having a transparent voting process, but also to know that our vote matters and it can count towards the growth and development of our country. So it is something that the government should look at as a matter of urgency. I believe that a country that actually wants to be, want to grow and expand on the scope of how the electoral process can go on year in year out as we have ventured into the democratic processes. We should have that right of place. Electoral voting is another thing. So when you want diasporans to vote, because we live and spread all over, then you must give that right of place that we should have electronic process of transmission of results and some of the things that may be in place that the politicians may not currently, want to happen. So I think they are avoiding that, those little things that will make a kind of transparent process. Because if you say the people from the diaspora should vote, likely you will want the elections result to be transmitted live so that everyone will see. And they do not want to alter some of those things. But we think that in a democratic process, there should be high level transparency so that people will have hope in the electoral process and have the trust and also have be intentional, to come out to vote when they are called upon.
On that discussion, in 2022, we had the Nigerian Diaspora Voting Council, that's the NDVC, who submitted a constitutional memorandum and a draft bill in that's 2020. The bill passed through early readings by 2021, but was ultimately voted down during the 2022 constitutional amendment session. In March 2022, a joint National Assembly session overwhelmingly rejected the diaspora voting amendment. Only 87 out of 390 lawmakers supported it at that time, so the bill could not scale through. And they gave a lot of reasons, our internet security, our national security, maybe we don't have a lot of other reasons. But let's look at even the reasons that they gave. Do you think it holds water, knowing that maybe Nigeria is not mature to that extent? We've seen a subsequent election, I think from 2007, we've been improved. I've covered elections in 2007, so I know that there have been some level of improvement. Now we have the beavers, and now we are talking about live transmission, which is something that we could now bring in. So a lot of improvement has actually come in, from one place to the other. Do you think we need to gradually follow it, or maybe it's just a matter, let's give it more time, like people will say, we are not yet mature to that extent? What are some of the thoughts that are coming to your head as to why this bill was rejected at the time?
The world is growing, and we cannot reject development. We cannot reject growth. You are seeing the changes in terms of advancement in technology and digital technology. If you want to say that we are rejecting diasporans to vote because of national security, that means we are not ready to embrace, development. So Nigeria should be ready to embrace development by inculcating this. There is nothing about diaspora voting that will affect national security. Nigeria holds records of all the diasporans that are outside the country legally. So we have a system in place that have our records as diasporans living everywhere in the world. You cannot leave Nigeria to come to the UK, for example, without Nigeria having your records. So Nigeria shouldn't be thinking of not allowing diasporans to vote because of national security, because we have not built system in place. What about the countries that are doing it? There are other countries that are allowing their diasporans to vote, and those countries are building on the systems that have been in place. For example, if I want to be allowed to vote, I should have something in place, that is my national identification card, which will give me the right privilege to have a voter's card, and a system, a transparent system should be put in place to allow us to vote, Again, you had already mentioned some of the things that happened. Some people feel at that time that there were systems that need to be put in place. Gradually, we have moved from the election year to going to another election year. I think within the interval of 2 years, those challenges that they felt that were not ready yet have been put in place to enable to have a stronger points in place to enable us advocate for the diaspora voting right that we think is our right as diasporans to vote. because if we are not allowed to vote, our contribution is towards the development. Many people will give way. If there is something, there will be a laissez-faire attitude, towards economic development, all the things that we have been leveraging from the diaspora to help our country to advance on. We'll just be looking at it as business as usual or any kind of thing. So I believe that the National Assembly should go back, reverse, look at those challenges that have been highlighted before they make the decision from the last point in place, and look at how we can cement things and allow us to have that right to vote.
We'll go for a break. Looking at all of the challenges that Nigeria has actually gone through as a country, and even some of the challenges that we will still talk about as we challenge election results in courts. We talked about election ballot snatching. We talk about votes, over voting in areas. We talked about result cancellation. A lot of issues, electoral issues during the voting process. Do you think that diaspora voting would not add another leg to the already existing numerous problems that we are encountering as a country?
I don't think so. I think the reason why the people are still looking at snatching ballot papers and the rest is because election results are transmitted manually in a way that people can take those results, sit down somewhere and change things. So if there is a stronger institutional implementation of level of how results are transmitted, for example, if you vote at your polling unit and that result is transmitted electronically to the local collecting center, then to the state collection center digitally, nobody will carry steal the bus, go somewhere, try to change the result or manipulate anything. So you know that your result, as you vote from your polling unit, and that everybody signed, like the agents within the polling unit, they sign, the result will be transmitted. You see, there will be more political participation if those processes are put in place. People that do not have hope and trust in the system will want to run for political offices. Most courageous people are running away from participating in politics because they feel that the process is no longer transparent enough for them to participate. You see, someone that lives in the diaspora that has been a system where there is high level of transparency, and you do not need to maybe do one or two things that is not in line with the cultural affiliation that people affiliate with election in our country. They want to participate in election, not only participate, they will want to also contest for political offices, and that will help in a way to shape the image of ourselves. One of the things that I have been advocating is for us as diaspora to see Nigeria, as our own, something that we can contribute. Not only contribute, we need to build our country. Nobody will come and build Nigeria for us. So we need to, grow the mindset of building. Mindset of making sure that all those challenges that we feel that they are in place right now, that is not enabling our country to have it right of place for our people. We will be able to work through those challenges, build our institution very strongly, and allow a transparent process where our people will have the real benefit of democracy, have access to healthcare system, water, electricity. They will have a viable economic environment where they can do their trade, go to farm, and do whatever they want to do in a very, very comfortable environment. So I believe that those systems come from institutional challenges that we currently have. The fears and the rest about changes of
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Let's go for a short break. Dr. Uti, please stay with us because when we're back, there's a lot I want to ask you about your contribution personally as a chairman, Cross River in Diaspora, to helping those who are back home and those back home does not. A lot of conversation, a lot that we need to talk about. So please just stay with us. Let's go for this break. And when we're back, the conversation continues. The push for diaspora voting in 2027. And we're talking to Dr. Uti Ncho, who is actually the chairman, Cross Riverians in Diaspora. right, if you're just joining us, this is Big Talk on Global Television, a program where we get to highlight trending political issues and help make a wonderful contribution to the state of our politics in Nigeria. And tonight we are talking to Dr. Uti Ncho, who is actually the chairman of Perseverance in Diaspora, about the new push for diaspora voting and what it actually means to Nigerians. Doc, are you with us? All right, so before we went on,
yes, I am here. Thank you.
What has been the impact of the diasporan community to Nigeria? Can you just highlight some of the things that you've done, your organization have done, and other people in the diaspora that you know contributing to the growth of this country?
Yes, we've actually spoke about remittance, which people commonly know that we living in diaspora, we do contribute. But as Perseverance in the Diaspora, what we do is that we've been able to contribute to first strengthen our institution back home. We want a stronger tie back home. When we came together as Perseverance in the Diaspora, we wanted a situation whereby we have a formal platform where we can have direct contact with our leaders back home to make sure that our contributions are not only valid in a way, but we have a very stronger tie. So we discussed with the government that want to come into power that we want to have a stronger institution. So in 2023, I drafted a bill to send to the government as an executive bill for us to have what is in place now as CRITCOM. That is my own personal contribution to advancing stronger institution in Cross River State. But we have other projects like Perseverance in Diaspora have key cardinal projects in terms of healthcare. We have healthcare committee, environment, biodiversity committee. I, aside being the chairman of a board of trustee of the Perseverance in the Diaspora, I also chair the investment promotion committee, because from my background, I have a very strong knowledge around investment. And recently, I have also drafted a bill where it's going to go into the Cross River House of Assembly as investment protection and promotion bill. There are key cardinal things that we are looking at from such bills, because we believe that if our institution is more stronger, we have a stronger investment environment. This will come from where people will have, an understanding that if they are investing in our country or in our state, we want our state to take the lead in this part of that part of the world, that if you invest your money, your investment is protected. So I want our legislature to look at that bill to tie it to what we can have, that Cross River State, for example, will become a viable economic environment for our country. Then we have other things. We have
the contributions of those in diaspora to the growth of Nigeria. Of recent, I was thinking that it was only the skilled professionals that are leaving Nigeria, but my colleague here did a research and find out that even unskilled people are leaving Nigeria in droves, the Japa syndrome. We have, I was thinking maybe it was just medical doctors and nurses that are leaving, but I got to know that we have people who are leaving to countries like Qatar, they're leaving to Turkey, they're leaving to different countries around the world. Some are unskilled people, just trying to leave the country. Do you think that we can grow Nigeria when we keep having our young people at the slightest opportunity want to leave Nigeria? How will we stay back and build the economy, like you talked about, building the economy of Nigeria and even the politics of Nigeria?
In terms of people moving outside the country, it's a two-way thing. There are two-way traffics there, but when people are moving without very strong reason, you know that maybe the economic climate is no longer suitable for them. People move. Before now, people travel or leave the country because maybe they are going out for studies or they have a very strong reason for leaving. So there's an uncertainty where people, even people that are economically strong in Nigeria, are also moving. So it's it's concerning to some of us living outside also when we see such changes. But we believe that with time, if the government put in a very strong policies in place and the economy is viable enough, that there will be reduction in the way people move. We have also seen a little trend where people move to those countries, just like you say Qatar, to Egypt, to some of the smaller African countries where our economy is more viable. I think those are the areas that we think is concerning. But if people are moving, very skilled migration is very necessary because it also contributes in a way to the development of our country. But we also need knowledge.
I'd like to know how it contributes. Doctor, you said it contributes in a way to the development of our country. So I'd like to know, how does skilled workers, young people who are of the work age between ages maybe 20 to 45, who should be pouring in their energy to work in the economy of Nigeria living, how does it contribute to the growth of the country?
What I believe is that there is a kind of traffic. Okay, when you go out outside the country, when you travel, it's part of knowledge, But we want to see how we can build on that to come back to our country to develop our country. Unless the people migrating, they are migrating because of certain reasons that is not aligning with what I think that migration could be. If you are a medical doctor,
I don't want to mention names and who migrated, and the person is saying she doesn't identify as a Nigerian. That's a discussion for another day. Let's talk about the opportunities that are available for those in the diaspora to come into politics in Nigeria, because we've seen a lot of people who from the diaspora come into politics to run maybe for governor, to run for the Senate and other. Is it like people have a meeting, when you have a meeting at the diaspora level, maybe for instance Cross River, and you are deciding, okay, one of us must go back to become governor. What's it about with politicians who stayed in the diaspora coming back to run for offices back home?
Okay, we have a track. So when you live in the diaspora, you have a track record where somebody can trace you to what you have been doing easily. For example, I live in the UK. If you want to have every information about me, you can easily go get that information. So, and we try as much as possible to present things in a very stable way. So many people that live outside the country, when they stay for some time, they feel, yes, it's time for us to go back and contribute. And that is why you see sometimes people make those decisions. And you see that most of the people that have run, or maybe they are in political offices that have lived outside the country, you see that they do achieve more because they have experience, first-hand experience, how countries are developed, how they have stronger laws. Countries, for example, if people that come into politics from places that the institutions are very strong, like the UK, the United States, that they have stronger democratic institutions in place, they discover that they try as much as possible to go through those processes. Yeah, we still have people.
I'd just like to add that
are from Nigeria.
The pound, of course, we know the pounds is going to. Just checked. It's about 1,985 about there. So it makes more sense to make money in the diaspora and come to run for politics in Nigeria. Maybe that's what you want to tell us.
No. I don't think it's about economic power. It's not about economic power, but you have most people being economically stable. So for you to run for, yes, it's economic stability in a way.
Yes, people in Nigeria. I don't want to answer me. Thank you so much, Dr. Uti Uncho, who is the chairman.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Who's the chairman of Crossbearance in Diaspora Board of Trustees, Crossbearance all over the world. I hope when you have your next meeting, is it in Sydney or in the UK, you invite me for that meeting?
Of course, yes, we will.
Thank you so
Our
much.
next meeting will be in Canada.
Tonight, we looked at 2027 and the push for diaspora voting. Do have for yourself a wonderful night. My name is Upong Usora, saying bye for now.